Alright everyone, welcome to the side ramble, and this right here is basically, well, pretty much an addition to the original, the original show, the original stream, which of course you guys know I'll be doing weekly, but what we actually have right here is simply an additional show right here, everyone. Sorry for the loud audio there. Just want to make sure it's going out right. Because if the server isn't set up right, like the stream won't go well. But yeah, right here, basically, this is just an addition to the original show, and these probably won't be that long because, like, story-wise, there probably isn't as much to actually talk about. But still, there's a lot of really good stories out there. And sometimes I might not do this stuff weekly. What's up? Yo, first boy, lol, psych. Yeah, sorry, Foxing. Shosha beat ya. Sorry, bud. Yeah, what's up, guys? If you're in the chat, welcome. Appreciate you guys stopping by. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much we have to talk about today. We will be taking calls for a little bit on Skype. So for those that would like to call in, you guys know what to do. First off, let me make sure I make the rules abundantly clear, because if I don't, then, it would be unfair to me to ban people for breaking rules that I haven't made clear. So as you guys can see right there on the screen, we have the rules right here. If you want to call into the show, which you guys can on my Skype, which is on the next slide here, which I'll put up in a minute. Rules for callers: do not curse. You can go into a serious issue. But typically, if it's a political issue, try to not go too far into it, just because I don't like to go that much into political stuff. But again, don't censor your opinion. Don't make it as if I'm saying that. Just try to be, be delicate in the way you word stuff. Let's say it like that. Be delicate in the way you word things. If you have a bad microphone, I'm simply going to hang up because no one wants to listen to that. No offense, it's just I'm going to have to hang up. And don't constantly interrupt, but, that's kind of common sense. So, yeah, those are the rules. My Skype is right there on the screen. So, for those that would like to call in on what I'd like to discuss today. But, yeah, Nightbot is still having issues. For those who don't know what Nightbot is, for those that might be listening to this on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this on SoundCloud, I do have a SoundCloud account. I'm setting that up, and I would like to get it on iTunes at some point, although I'm not exactly sure how I would do that. But it would take some time. I think I could figure it out. But basically here, Nightbot is a certain type of app you can download, and it'll set up a bot on your Twitch page, and then that bot can go and regulate the chat and do some cool stuff. And there was actually a typo with mine. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think we could get into what we want to discuss, because this stream is not going to be very long. So this is the first episode of the side ramble, and these will happen pretty much whenever people want them to. I mean, there's no certain date when I'll do one of these. This is more when something's just on my mind and I just want to talk about it. The main show, I'll try to make like 2 hours, and I'll do those like once a week. So yeah, the main show will be like 2 hours, and that's really where the most interesting stories will happen and all that type of stuff. But there are still a few things I want to cover, which I could cover in the next episode as well. So the next full episode of the Retro Ramble might actually have some of this content in it again. But basically, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but one of the new games that was released recently, Mafia 3, which I actually owned Mafia 2. And the game was alright. I mean, it was interesting. It was on the Xbox 360 I had it for, and I played it a really long time ago. So I can't really give a review of it. I think it was like a third-person shooter. And it was alright. I mean, it had the record, I think, for most profanity in a video game. But, I heard it was pretty cool. And from the little bit that I played, it seemed decent. I would call it, but I sound like crap. Well, if you want to test it on Skype, I mean, I don't think anybody here would mind. If you want to just call in, and if your mic's bad, I'll just hang up. And if it sounds decent enough, I'll put it through. So if you'd like, feel free, bud. If I hang up, you don't take it personally. It might work. It might sound good. I'm not sure. My standards aren't that high. It just has to be like legible so people could actually like hear you. Audible. That's the word. Audible. That's the word. So if you want to try it, feel free. But basically, Mafia 2 was a very good game. I enjoyed it from what I've played of it. I didn't play much, but as I said, from the little bit I played, I thought it was decent. But, with Mafia 3 being a new title here as a sequel to it, and I think it's been a while since the last one came out. The original game came out a while ago. So this is kind of anticipated from fans of the game. I mean, at least from what I've seen, I mean, the game did have a cult following. It did. It had a fan base that was definitely interested in the content the game had to offer. So then now, Mafia 3, it comes out, and there's one big drawback with this game now. And I'll probably cover this again at some point, just because this is such a colossal failure, in my opinion. But Mafia 3 now currently has 30 FPS as a lock. You heard it right. The game itself is locked at 30 FPS, which is simply unbelievable because as a modern video game, as a modern title, it is unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable and unacceptable that a game is locked at 30 FPS. And that's one of the reasons why I stopped playing Destiny, because the game played like garbage. It really did. And the game itself had its flaws, believe me. For those who know, Destiny had its flaws, it had its problems. But being locked at 30 FPS, I mean, Jesus Christ, who wants to play that, dude? Who wants to play that? That was almost unacceptable back on the 360 at some points, like at the end of the 360 life cycle. But on the Xbox One and the PC on these new consoles, are you kidding me? There's a 30 FPS lock on a title? I'm sorry, bro. I mean, they deserve to lose any sales that they do. If they get any sales, honestly, it would be a blessing. If they get any sales for their company, honestly. They don't deserve it, and I would never buy that in a million years. And you see a lot of people complain about, what's up, Super Jake? Welcome back to the stream. Certain people seem to complain about graphics and things. They'll go, oh, the gameplay is what matters. And believe me, I agree. The gameplay is solid. That is what's by far the most important. But if you cannot get around to actually playing it and enjoying it, and the game can't function right, then what's the point? You can't enjoy it. No matter how good the content is, you still can't enjoy it. It's like, thinking of an example, I guess you could say. 30 FPS Mafia 3, yes, that's what I'm talking about here. I'm trying to think of an example of it. Let's say we go back and take a look at a food. Let's use that as an example of food, right? Let's say there's this really, really good fruit topping, right? It's got strawberry, it's got raspberry, whatever, right? It's got every good fruit in it. It's really flavorful. You could buy it from like a food store. It's fantastic, right? And you put that topping on, let's say, a cake or a cupcake or something. And that cake and that cupcake is just absolutely horrible. Tastes awful. Yes, while the topping might still be good, in the end, the core foundation of that dessert, the cake or the cupcake or the ice cream or whatever, if that's awful, you still can't enjoy it at all. And that's kind of the same way this works. If the game itself has good features, in that case, the icing on the cake, if it has good features, but it's still not playable, then all those features are simply invalid. It doesn't matter how good the game is to play. It just doesn't. It just doesn't matter. If it has a lot of creativity and good game modes and good features, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Because if the game is unplayable, it's unplayable. I would rather play a game that's boring, that plays well, than a game that's exciting and doesn't play. And that's why, precisely, I don't like Modern Warfare 2. The Call of Duty title. I don't want to get into Call of Duty every stream, because personally, this is not a COD stream. This is an overall view at gaming, and I guess an anti-stupidity stream, if you want to call it that. But, when looking at even Call of Duty, I don't like Modern Warfare 2 because of the way it functions. While, yes, it has cool features, you can get kill streaks easy, the guns are great, the map design is great. While all of that is great, you still have claymores, which are ridiculously overpowered, one-man army, final stand, noob tubes. I mean, you have all this stuff in the game to where Modern Warfare 2 isn't even playable. I'll never, ever go back on NW2 for my own enjoyment. I'll play it because maybe I want to make a video on it for YouTube purposes, but I'll never voluntarily go and play Modern Warfare 2. I just won't. Because I simply just don't care enough. I'm not going to go and suffer through a game because it might have good features and it might have good content in it. None of that matters. Doesn't matter at all. What really matters is how well the game plays and how well it functions. And in this case, with Mafia 3 being locked at 30 FPS, there's simply no reason whatsoever to actually play it. No reason whatsoever. Honestly, if I was a diehard fan of the franchise, I still most likely wouldn't buy it. I just wouldn't. If another Halo game came out, or Call of Duty, or Counter-Strike, whatever the game is, insert any title here you want, really. Sorry, I'm just drinking water a little bit because I'm dehydrated right now. If any other title came out, I would never, ever buy that title if it was locked at 30 FPS. I just wouldn't. Because that's not enjoyable. And I read somewhere, I think it was in the comments of a YouTube video, so don't take this, as being truth, nor am I repeating this verbatim, but I do think that someone said the human eye can register things at like 75 frames per second. Apparently that's like the way you kind of process information in your eyes, which may be true. I'm not sure if that is. But regardless, 30 FPS is so not locked at the potential of what we can experience as humans. 60 FPS looks great on a video game. And actually, if you have a slow motion feature on your iPhone, I believe, for those who have an iPhone, I think it actually records at 120 frames per second because it's slow motion. I think it actually records at that to kind of keep it fluid the footage when you actually look back at it. That records at 120 frames per second, and it looks gorgeous if you actually look back at the footage. So the fact that a game which probably took millions of dollars to develop, I know Mafia is a big franchise, it took millions of dollars to develop. If this game itself is actually at 30 FPS permanently, and there's no way to actually enhance that, then there's no reason to buy it whatsoever. I wouldn't personally. If anybody would like to call me on Skype, you guys can see it here on the screen. You guys have your voice heard here on the show. Right there on the screen, you guys can see it. My Skype is right there, the Retro Ramble. You guys can call in. So for those who would like to, you don't even need to send me a contact request. I believe you can just call me here. So if anybody would like to call in, you guys know what to do. Here's the rules right there on the screen, the rules for the callers. Please do not curse, because I'd prefer if you didn't. If you have a bad microphone, I'm simply going to hang up because no one wants to listen to that. And if you constantly interrupt, I'll hang up. But that's kind of common sense. I mean, I don't think anybody would. So yeah, those are the rules right there. Definitely, if you follow them, you can have your voice heard here on the show for a period of time whenever the topic is on and whenever the topic is relevant. But, it's just unbelievable. Like, the nerve of some developers to even come out with that. It's shameful. And honestly, if you bought Mafia 3, shame on you. Honestly, if you knew that in advance, let's say that, because some people didn't know that before. But if you knew that in advance, if you knew Mafia 3 in advance was only 30 FPS, hey there, Retro, what's up, Tyler? If you knew that was only 30 FPS in advance, then shame on you, honestly. Shame on you, because, you know what? We need to almost send a message to developers at some point saying that we won't accept things like that. Because if Halo or Call of Duty or Counter-Strike came out at 30 FPS, regardless of how much I love the game, I wouldn't buy it. I simply wouldn't. And this isn't like we're excusing for deficient hardware. And believe me, I'm no fan of the Xbox One. I'm not. I think it's a piece of crap. However, it can handle 60 FPS. Any next-gen console can. And even some of the last-gen consoles can. But you know what? I'm not going to hold that against a modern developer because they have to downscale their game to fit an old piece of hardware. If, let's say, Activision came out and said that Black Ops 3, which was on the 360 and PS3 as well, if they came out and said that this game would be only 30 FPS on those consoles, I'd have no problem. Because the hardware is limited. You should be thankful they're even making a Call of Duty for those consoles. So I don't see that as being something that matters. But if it's a next-gen console, especially the PC, because the PC is just so unlimited in terms of your capabilities, especially if it's on PC, why on earth would you limit yourself to having only 30 FPS? It just doesn't make sense. It would be better almost if they spent more time in development and didn't even come out with the game at all than come out with it with such a humiliating frame rate right that. It would just be, it's just humiliating. PC master race, yeah, I can agree. The PC is just so unlimited in terms of its power that it would be humiliating to come out with anything that's not 60 FPS, especially this year in 2016. It's the end of 2016. We have TVs now that are 4K. I mean, the technology is going so good at the moment. It's going so well that how on earth could you have a game that is at 30 FPS? I just don't get it. What's up, VCA and Anto? How you guys doing? Thank you for tuning in to the show today. And for those that are new, this is a side ramble here. This isn't the full normal retro ramble show, because that, of course, would be a little longer. That would be like 2 hours in length. I'm trying to make those. And this is more just like a side like type of show if I have anything else on my mind that I'm, not that I don't want to, turn into a full show. If I have something else I just want to discuss kind of on the side, I'll bring it up. And today we've been talking about Mafia 3 being 30 FPS. And, I just find that unbelievable. But yeah, for the main show, we have a few really interesting topics. So probably next weekend, once I do that, we'll have a lot of interesting stuff. Mainly, I believe it's from Poodle Corp or from Lizard Squad. They actually got arrested. I believe they're going to have like 10 years on their arrest. And that's definitely interesting. We'll cover that at a later point. I got to go. All right, bye, Jake. Thank you for tuning in. 30 FPS is fine on some games. I completely disagree. Definitely not fine. Definitely not fine. I don't think any game at this point in time should be 30 FPS, regardless of what it is. Unless it's like an independent development studio, they have no choice. I understand that. But it's simply developers getting greedy. Because, wait, let me see. Actually, I'll search this up. Who's the developer of Mafia? Does anyone know the developer of that franchise? I think it's EA or Ubisoft or something. I mean, it's got to be a big company. Let me see. If it's a small company, I'll take my words back. But I personally don't think so. Mafia developer. I'll find it right now. Can Mario be 30 FPS? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. 2K Sazek, it says, is developer. Is a game development company located in the Czech Republic. Founded in 1997. Headquarters. Yeah, they've developed a lot of games. Yeah, they got money. Anyway, bye, Laura. All right, thank you for tuning in, man. But yeah, they got money. They got a lot of money, regardless. Apparently, people saying Ubisoft is in the chat, but I didn't see that online. But they got a lot of money. There's a lot of money flowing through this company here. There's got to be. I mean, there's no way there couldn't be a lot of money, especially developing such a major title like that. Any titles like Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 that got that successful would, of course, generate a lot of revenue. So there's no way that wouldn't happen. No way. It just wouldn't. So they have money, and it's simply them being greedy, I believe. That's the way I look at it, at least. And it's just humiliating. That they would do that. Would only leave it at 30 FPS, knowing they have that type of money. Did they develop any popular games other than the Mafias? I'm not sure. But these games must have sold a lot. Let me see. Viet Cong 2, Top Spin 4, Viet Cong, Hidden and Dangerous. These look like all the games. Here, let's see. You ready? I'll tell you right now. We'll look up Mafia 2 sales. Let's see how many copies they sold. I'll tell you right now. Loading it up right now on Wikipedia. There's got to be a money flow. There has to be. Publishers, 2K Games. All right. I'm not sure. Do they have release? Here we go. Okay, at GameStop. Still looking for this. Yeah, mobile version, reception. Okay, here we go. It got really good ratings, really good review scores on most of these sites. Most gave it like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I cannot find sales. How weird is that? That is odd. There's got to be a lot of sales. There's no way. Okay, units. 1.55 million units. That's a lot. On the Xbox alone, I believe, it has 1.55 million units. That's a lot. That's a real lot of units. So, I find that interesting. I really do. And, the fact that this company has that much money generated and still will release it at that frame rate is humiliating. There's no reason why a game should not be released at that. If anyone has any opposition to that and believes there is a justification for that, definitely call in. Prove me wrong. Definitely. Retro, how long do you plan on recording for? Probably another 10 minutes. This isn't gonna be that long. Only around a half hour. So this won't be that long. But these are basically little side shows where I'll just give my thoughts on separate things, separate topics that aren't really bombshells but things are still interesting nonetheless. The first real episode will be probably next weekend or something around that time. I mean, we could maybe set up a date each week to, broadcast. I'm not sure. Or I could probably just do it whenever. But, regardless of the way it works, I save most of the important topics for the main show. And the main one that I've really been saving that I'd actually like to have a really, really long edition on, that I'd really like to maybe get into a heated debate with someone on, because this is such a big topic. Poodle Corp and Lizard Squad getting busted for 10 years in prison, apparently. If everything goes in favor of the law, they'll get 10 years in prison for, their DDoSing and hacking and stuff, I believe. It was one of them. It was either Poodle Corp or Lizard Squad, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Viewers seem to think the same, too. Yeah, man, I think so. But yeah, if anybody has any topics they'd like to suggest for the show, or would like to call in on Skype, now's your time. Definitely do. I'll leave it open for a little bit more time. Then maybe we could cover a couple other things I have for today, the next about 10 minutes or so. We should do the main show three times or twice a week. Yeah, that sounds about good. Twice a week's probably good. I think so. But if anyone would like to call in on Skype, I'll leave it open for like another minute. So if anyone would like to call in, it's right there on the screen. Let me know in the chat if you're calling in, so I could, kind of leave the time window open for a little bit more. But for those who would like to, you guys know what to do. Call me on Skype. You guys can see the Skype right there. No Man's Sky. The lawsuit on that. That is an interesting one. I think I'll save that. One. Because that's actually... I was thinking about that and I actually forgot it a little bit. I'm going to save that one. Sorry, I don't think I'll cover that now. Because that's definitely worthy of being on the main show. Definitely. I personally think. Because there was just such a scam that really went on there. And I guess maybe a brief summary, and we'll get into it a little bit at a further point. My issue with No Man's Sky, the game itself, is it led you under the presumption you were in a giant world with everyone else. And although chances are you would not be able to find another person in that world, chances are you couldn't, because, well, chances are, being, the millions of planets or whatever, chances are, you wouldn't really encounter someone in that world. It was still nice to know. It was still nice to know that this game was linked and everybody was playing in the same world. It was nice to know that. And then finding out that the game is really only single player and they were planning on implementing that later on is really just completely sleazy. I mean, complete sleaze. And I'd like to cover that at a later point where I could have people call in and stuff. If we really pull a lot of viewers, I'd like to cover some of these topics, because I personally like debating with people. And I like, at least for the main show, to choose topics that people disagree on. Because when people disagree on stuff, that's what makes it entertaining, I think. So I definitely believe that the Poodle Corp and the Lizard Squad thing will be interesting, because I personally don't see anything wrong with them getting sentenced for 10 years. Nothing wrong with that at all. And I think most people would disagree with me on that. So that's definitely something I think we could cover. Also, the PlayStation VR is another topic I like to get into at some later point, because, PlayStation and virtual reality, it's definitely the way of the future when it comes to gaming and things. I mean, that's probably a topic we'll really get into, because the PlayStation VR, I was going to actually try a demo of it at Best Buy, but I actually didn't get around to it because the line was too long. But it looks interesting. And I'm just curious as to what the general perception from the public is on that, or at least the people who are watching the stream. I'm curious as to what their perception of that is. So that's definitely another topic we'll get into at a later point. And then, of course, this stream, we mainly covered Mafia 3, because the game is simply unacceptable to be at 30 FPS. And that's probably the only topic we'll cover. I mean, I'll probably end the stream in a minute. I simply don't see a reason to drag out the stream when it's just unnecessary. I don't see a reason to do that. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably end the stream in a minute and, end the show. But, that was definitely an interesting topic. And then No Man's Sky is definitely something else that we could cover at a later point. What's going on, Shorty? Came just in time. Stream's ending now, everyone. But I would like to thank you all so much for watching. I sincerely do appreciate that. We'll probably do each one of these around 25, 30 minutes, maybe 40 or 45 at some point. We'll have to wait and see. But, it happens. I think this is just a nice time to just go into any other topic that isn't as serious, So, Thank you guys. Dang. Okay, bye, dude. All right. Thank you for tuning in, bro. I'm sorry. Just bad timing, I guess. But thank you guys so much for watching. I sincerely do appreciate it. This will be uploaded to the Retro Ramble YouTube channel. Every one of these little like sideshow type things will be uploaded over there. So I'll provide a link for you guys. If you haven't subbed over there, please do. Because this is really like, that will be the central hub as to where everything really goes down. So yeah, definitely subscribe over there if you haven't already. Because that's definitely where at least most things will happen in terms of the show and any information, any other types of videos I generally would like to do. That's definitely a place to go. Definitely go check it out over there. With that being said, thank you guys all so much for tuning in today. I do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next show. See you later.